The world teaches people to numb themselves, to stay distracted, to ignore their intuition. But your spirit is resisting that now. You can feel it. There's a quiet voice inside you asking for more. More meaning, more depth, more authenticity. And no matter how hard you try to silence it, it keeps returning. Because your awakening was meant to happen. There are moments in life that look random on the surface, but are deeply connected underneath. The people you met, the pain you endured, the timing of certain endings, the strange inner pull you cannot explain. It all formed a path leading you here, to this version of yourself that is beginning to open its eyes after years of emotional sleep. And maybe part of you still doubts it. Maybe part of you keeps trying to convince yourself that you are imagining things, that you are just emotional, just tired, just overthinking. But the truth is, your soul recognizes what your mind cannot fully understand yet. There are changes happening within you that logic alone cannot explain. You're starting to notice what truly matters. You care less about shallow approval, less about proving yourself, less about chasing things that leave your spirit empty, and more about peace, more about connection, more about purpose. That shift may seem small to others, but it changes everything. Because awakening is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. For the first time, you're beginning to see your life clearly. Not through fear, not through conditioning, but through awareness. And awareness changes how you move through the world. It makes you softer in some ways and stronger in others. Softer with yourself, stronger with your boundaries, softer with your emotions, stronger with your truth. You stop forcing what no longer aligns. You stop begging for acceptance from people who cannot see your heart. You stop shrinking yourself just to make others comfortable. And little by little, you begin reclaiming your energy. There's a moment in life when everything begins to feel unfamiliar. Not because the world changed overnight, but because something inside you quietly started waking up. You notice it in the silence first. In a strange feeling that you no longer belong in places that once felt comfortable. In the way conversations suddenly feel empty. In the way your heart reacts to things no one else seems to notice. And deep down, even if you cannot explain it, you know something is happening to you. Something real. Something bigger than a phase. Bigger than stress. Bigger than coincidence. You are awakening. And the most important thing to understand is this: it is not random. You did not stumble into this by accident. Every moment that brought you here carried meaning. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every season where you felt lost and misunderstood. It was all slowly guiding you toward yourself, toward the version of you that had been buried under noise, expectations, fear, and survival. Because sometimes life has to shake everything around you before it can wake up what has been asleep within you. That is why things may feel confusing right now. Awakening is not always peaceful in the beginning. Sometimes it feels like grief, like exhaustion, like loneliness you cannot describe. You start seeing truths you ignore before. You start feeling energies you used to dismiss. You realize how much of your life was built around pretending to be okay, pretending to fit in, pretending not to feel deeply. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You may notice yourself pulling away from people without fully understanding why. It is not because you hate them. It is because your soul can no longer survive in spaces that drain it. Your energy is becoming more sensitive now, more aware. You begin to recognize when something feels heavy, forced, or false. And while that awareness can feel isolating, it is also sacred. Because for the first time in a long time, you are. And evolution often feels uncomfortable because your mind craves familiarity while your soul craves expansion. Part of you wants to hold on to what is known because it feels safe. But another part of you feels called towards something deeper, even if you cannot fully explain what it is yet. That inner conflict can make you feel exhausted. One moment you feel hopeful. The next moment you feel lost. One day you crave solitude. The next day you wish someone understood you completely. This emotional back and forth is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that your inner world is reorganizing itself. You are releasing old identities, old fears, old emotional patterns. And when those things begin leaving your system, it can feel chaotic before it feels peaceful. But something important is happening beneath the surface. You're learning how to reconnect with yourself without needing external validation. You are learning that your worth does not come from being endlessly useful to others. You are learning that peace matters more than performance. That realization changes the way you move through life. You stop chasing approval as desperately as before. You stop trying to prove your value to people who only appreciated the version of you that stayed silent about its needs. You begin protecting your energy, your time, your emotional space, not from anger, but from self-respect. And slowly, you start feeling lighter, not because your life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your soul is no longer carrying what it was never meant to carry. There's also something else happening during this awakening that many people do not talk about. You begin grieving the person you used to be. Even if that version of you was hurting, it was familiar. You knew how to survive there. You knew how to function there. Letting go of old identities can feel like losing a home you lived in for years. So if part of you feels emotional while growing, that is normal. You are not on. At some point, you stop feeling at home in the life you once fought so hard to build. That realization did not arrive loudly. It came quietly, in the middle of ordinary days, in the moments where you smiled around people but still felt empty inside. In the strange ache that followed, no matter how much you tried to distract yourself, you kept telling yourself that maybe you just needed rest. Maybe you just needed motivation. Maybe you were simply going through a difficult phase. But the feeling never truly disappeared because it was never meant to. Your soul was trying to wake you up. Not wake you up physically, spiritually, emotionally, deep within the parts of you that had gone silent for too long. And the reason it feels so intense is because awakening changes the relationship you have with everything, with your past, with your pain, with your identity, with the world itself. You begin realizing how much of your life was shaped by survival instead of truth. You spent years learning how to protect yourself, learning how to stay accepted, learning how to silence parts of your heart so you could fit into environments that never truly saw you. You became the version of yourself that others needed, the strong one, the calm one, the understanding one, the dependable one. But somewhere along the way, you abandoned the quiet voice inside you that was begging to be heard. And now it is returning. That is why your emotions feel deeper lately. Why certain things suddenly trigger tears you cannot explain. Why your heart reacts strongly to beauty, silence, music, nature, or even simple moments that once meant nothing to you. Your spirit is becoming more open now, more sensitive, more alive. At first, this sensitivity may feel like weakness, but it is not weakness. It is awareness. And awareness is the beginning of transformation. You are finally feeling life instead of merely surviving it. The strange thing about awakening is that it often begins after pain.